All right, Nick. Los Angeles Rams legally obligated to say they're the defending Super Bowl champions, so we got that out of the way. Coming off a big win over divisional opponent, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Rams are getting a little bit disrespected coming into this next game, and we're gonna talk about it. Just for the whole season, uh, I don't think people realize how good this Rams team is. And we'll talk about it a little bit. They've only had one loss to really, really good opponent, probably one of the best opponents in the NFL. They have a lot of superstar players on this team. They seem to be playing decent. It's a really talented team. And after a big win, Rams fans, we've got to ask you in the comments below. Let us know who is your MVP for the game, or even through this point of the season. Be creative. Let us know who you think has been the best player that you've loved to watch on this Rams team throughout this season so far. But Nick, what do you got on the Rams?
Yeah, so obviously the Rams 2-1, big win, like you mentioned, over the Arizona Cardinals, and they're set up for another divisional matchup, this time at the San Francisco 49ers. But there's been some interesting news coming out about the early odds setting. This is kind of interesting. According to Tipico Sportsbooks, the 49ers are favored against the Rams, favored by 2.5 points at home. So this is obviously, is this one sports book, or is this, is this all of them? And according to a Vegas Insider, I went back and looked it up. 9 of the 10 major sports books have the 49ers home 2.5 point favorites against the Los Angeles Rams. And to me, Miles, this is just one of the weirder things I've seen come out of Vegas in a long time. When's the last time a defending Super Bowl champ had a winning record and was going to go play another team that had a losing record and was was not the favorite, and they're the underdog? This is unbelievable to me. I think this is maybe just an instance of Vegas and people overthinking a little bit, because this is a 49ers team that looked really bad against the Bears week 1, looked even worse against the Broncos in their week 3 defeat. They're 1-2. And the Rams, look, I understand maybe they didn't look great against Buffalo. They had a few issues against the Falcons late. They handled Arizona, but it wasn't the prettiest win. People sometimes are forgetting how just absolutely stacked, especially at their stars, Donald, Cup, Stafford, Ramsey, Bobby Wagner into the mix too. How stacked this roster is and how good this LA Rams team is. What are your thoughts on what you're seeing here from Vegas and just the Rams in general?
It's very weird because Vegas must not have watched the 49ers that I watched play the Broncos, because that team kind of looked like they sucked, okay? But this Rams team, like, is absolutely, that's the right word, disrespectful, that they're not the favorites major in this game, because they held this Cardinals team who has Kyler Murray at the helm, a much more dynamic quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, there's a lot of like big time playmakers on the Cardinals as well. You got Hollywood Brown. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins isn't back yet, but they have some other good, James Conner, some great players on this team. But the Rams have an incredible defense. They have 3 of the highest graded players at their position on defense. You got the second overall best graded linebacker in Bobby Wagner at an 85.6. You've got the third best interior defensive lineman grading wise. He is definitely the best interior defensive lineman. Don't let me get that twisted. But grading wise, he's the third best at a 90.2, and they have the third best corner in Jalen Ramsey at an 82.3. And don't even get me started. They have the number 1 graded wide receiver overall in Cooper Kupp at an 89.4. So this team on defense is stacked. They're going to be able. They held the Cardinals to 12 points. Like I said, this is a middling 49ers team. I can't see them scoring over 10 points on the Rams. I know it's a divisional game, but this defense is just so crazy, Nick. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, so I think it's one of those weird deals where people look at the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo and like, oh, this is a good 49ers team. They went to the NFC Championship game last year. They had a lead against the Rams. But you can't look back on that too much. You got to look in the here and now. And when you think of the Rams, right, obviously all those talent, all those great PFF grades that you mentioned, but how about the championship medal this organization has? Matt Stafford, taking his team to a championship last season. Obviously, Sean McVay, now a Super Bowl winning head coach. This is a team that's overcome a lot, and they have like the mental makeup. So it's so strange to me that Vegas is, hampering this a little bit. I'm not one to sit there and say, oh, is there some kind of, money on, does Vegas know something that we don't? And potentially that's the case. I have no idea. But I think this is a really, really disrespectful move, like you alluded to, that the Rams are facing right now. And this is the kind of thing over the course of a season I think could potentially motivate this organization and push them as they're driving to repeat this year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because obviously coming off a big Super Bowl win, people talk about Super Bowl hangover, and the Rams got over that real quick in the first game. They snapped out of it after getting shellacked by the Bills. That brings you back down to earth a little bit and said, all right, time to get back to work. But you kind of need motivation once you've won it all. Sometimes like people talk about retiring, to no one knows if they're going to come back, yada yada. And you think, how can we motivate these guys to go out and do another incredible performance, try to make a deep playoff run? And by people counting you out, like you said, that is what gives these guys a chip on their shoulder. I guarantee you, you tell Aaron Donald that Vegas or people are counting him out, saying that they're not going to be able to beat the 49ers, a team who couldn't score more than 20 points last week. He's going to say, okay, I'll show you how to shut out a 49ers team. Okay, I'll wreck the game. Ramsey will probably have like 5 interceptions. Wagner is going to be a monster as well. This is, like you said, this is how you motivate a defense that's on fire. This is how you get Cooper Kupp to go off for like 200 yards and Stafford to show you they can throw for 6-7 touchdowns in the game. That's what I'm predicting is going to happen with the disrespect.